The anime starts by showing us the depths of a dungeon, where a guy named Orhun Dura takes care of some monsters with his sword. He manages to get rid of several monsters in just a few seconds, which makes him think that he hasn't gotten as out of shape as he thought, and it means he can still make it as a swordsman. When a bunch of goblins appear, Orhun decides that it's time to try some support magic as well. He uses strength up on himself, support magic that improves its target's physical abilities or strengthens their equipment. The caster can not only use it to help his party members, he can put it on himself, which allows him to defeat many goblins with ease. With spells to increase both attack and defense, it's something every party needs. Just when Orhun thinks it's over, more goblins appear, so he attacks them without hesitation in a matter of seconds. After all, his magic has a weakness too, which is time, because he can only use it for 3 minutes exactly. When more goblins show up, Orhun uses strength up on himself again, getting rid of as many goblins as he can. Support magic doesn't last forever, and an individual's magic resistance changes the amount of time it lasts. In his case, it lasts 180 seconds, so he has to keep a close eye on the state of the battle and cast at just the right time. Enchanters who use support magic are constantly in a race against time, and normally they don't try to use it while swinging a sword around. However, in his case, it's something he has decided, and it allows him to defeat the goblins in the remaining 3 seconds of his support magic. In another scene, we see what happened before this, when Oliver, the leader of the hero's party, asks him to leave the group. Orhun clearly wasn't expecting this, so he even thinks it must be some kind of joke, since he and Oliver are childhood friends, comrades who've always been together. Oliver admits that, until now, he's given him plenty of chances because he's from the same village, but from now on, he won't be able to keep up. Annalie, another member from the hero's party, asks Oliver to just come out and tell the truth. The other guy, called Derek, agrees, and asks him to tell Orhun that he's just slowing them down. Orhun can't believe how rough they're being right now, but Oliver doesn't back down, and tells him that he just isn't strong enough, so he needs to leave the hero's party. Orhun tries to process what's happening, because the party that Oliver and he formed 8 years ago achieved S rank in just a few years. They were the first to reach the 94th floor in the Southern Great Dungeon, and people began calling them the Hero's Party. Orhun admits that maybe he's not strong enough, but he clarifies that that goes for all of them at this rate. Oliver interrupts him, saying that they didn't understand how important it was to have an enchanter who could use support magic. However, in the joint raid last month, they were able to see how incredible the other S-rank party's enchanters were, and that made them understand how weak his support magic is. Orhun reminds them that he's supposed to be a swordsman, and that's why he created his own original magic. Derek instantly silences him, saying that he only converted because Oliver was better with a blade than him. Annalie agrees, and tells him that he's not a very good enchanter either right now, so he's in no position to complain. Orhun reminds them that they needed an enchanter, so he converted because he was the one who had the most aptitude for it. He's invented his own kind of magic to make up for his flaws, and they've survived even on the deepest floors of the dungeon because of that. Oliver cuts him off, informing him that they've already found a replacement enchanter. Orhun can't hide how shocked and hurt he feels at that, so Oliver looks away and apologizes, saying that that's how it's going to be. Annalie doesn't look sorry at all, and she cheerfully says that they're the hero's party, so they have to keep going, something they can't do with him in the team. Orhun can't believe that's how they treat him after all they've been through together. It's clear that there's no place for him in the party anymore, so he simply thanks them for everything and walks out. Annalie just can't get enough, so she mentions all the things he can't do, including magic and sword fighting. She admits that he can do a lot of things, but only at an A rank level, and yet he kept telling them what to do, which was pissing them off. Orhun pauses before leaving the place, and Annalie tells him that people like him are usually called a jack of all trades. Back to the present time, Orhun defeats another goblin after remembering those words, and he's more than decided to be a swordsman and an enchanter. He's adaptable enough to pull off this new style he's developed that combines both after all. That way, nobody will call him a jack of all trades anymore, and someday he'll be an adventurer who can do anything. After defeating the monsters, he registers with the teleportation crystal so he can start from floor 7 next time. Before he can leave, he sees a party of adventurers running away in fear, saying that there were too many orcs for them to face. Orhun tries to stay out of it, but as soon as he hears that they left a girl behind to save themselves, he decides to intervene. He knows that he shouldn't get involved because she just had bad luck joining up with them, but he knows how much it hurts to be abandoned by a party. Orhun approaches the party and scolds them for making excuses instead of going to save that girl. One of the guys gets defensive and tells him that even if he stayed back there, he couldn't save her alone. The guy tries to punch him without thinking, but Orhun simply takes him down and asks the others where they left that girl to die. In the meantime, we see the poor girl is surrounded by dangerous orcs, and she doesn't know what to do. Out of sheer panic, she casts a magic barrier to keep them away from her, but she knows it won't last long, and she definitely can't handle so many. The girl cries out for help when the barrier shatters, and just then, Orhun attacks the orcs with arrow shock, sending them flying away with a strong wind. He stands up for the girl in order to protect her, and with no hesitation, he uses his support magic to strengthen his body. After that, he uses technical up and manages to defeat the first orc with his sword. The girl simply observes him in awe, wondering if he's a swordsman or an enchanter. Orhun then uses sharpness up, which allows him to easily slice one of the orcs in half. The girl is clearly impressed because she's never seen anyone fight like that before. Orhun recognizes that there are a lot of orcs, and he can see why a low-ranking party would run. However, he knows that he can handle this alone. In a matter of seconds, Orhun manages to take down all the orcs and asks the girl if she's okay. The girl is just trying to process how strong he is, and at this point, she's just glad that she's alive, but she can't help the tears that come after that. Once she calms down, they both finally come out of the dungeon, and before he can leave, the girl decides to properly thank him and introduces herself as Sophia Claudel. Her last name certainly sounds familiar to Orhun, and he also recognizes the crest on her cape. Despite this, he decides not to mention it and chooses to also introduce himself. Sophia then shyly asks him if it'd be alright if she treated him to dinner as thanks. Orhun is clearly taken by surprise, and he tries to tell her that he didn't save her because he wanted her gratitude. Even so, Sophia insists, and he has no other choice but to follow her back to the city. When they arrive, he notices that she took him to one of the rabbits' shops, which has the same crest she has on her cape. With that, Orhun finally confirms that Sophia is from the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, one of the biggest guilds in the kingdom of Nohitant. The Night Sky Silver Rabbits are one of the most popular clans in the kingdom, and he confirmed it in the last joint raid last month. As soon as they enter the place, Sophia is surprised to see her sister there, though Orhun is just as surprised. Sophia's sister is clearly happy to see her, but she isn't as thrilled at the sight of Orhun, immediately getting defensive and saying that it's too soon for her to have a boyfriend. Sophia gets way too nervous to explain anything, but she's even more surprised when she finds out that they already know each other. Orhun recognizes her as Selma Claudel, the leader of the S-rank party that's the most powerful in the Silver Rabbits and the continent's most powerful enchanter. She's the one who made enchanters famous and created the idea of different party members having different roles: attackers to take down the enemy, defenders to take the hits, and supporters helping in the rear. Splitting the party into these three roles was her idea, and it changed the way adventurers think about going into the dungeons forever. The hero's party is no exception, and that's why he had to go from being a swordsman to an enchanter. It was also seeing her in the raid last month that caused Oliver and the others to get rid of him. He doesn't know why she's mad at him right now, though, but Selma makes it very clear when she asks him if he's going after her 14-year-old sister. Orhun immediately understands what the problem is, and it's clearly a misunderstanding, so he tries to explain that he was about to eat dinner with Sophia, but his intentions are completely pure. Despite his attempt to fix the situation, Selma only gets even angrier, asking him if he thinks Sophia is not good enough for him. Orhun starts getting a little annoyed, but Sophia quickly intervenes and asks her sister not to be rude to the man who saved her life. Selma's demeanor instantly shifts to concern, and she asks her if she went to the dungeon alone. Sophia has no choice but to confess, so Selma reminds her that they're going into the Great Dungeon in 2 days, and she asked her to stay put for a few days. Orhun just then understands that Sophia was dungeon delving without telling her clan, but since it seems she's safe, Selma decides not to give her a hard time about it. Now that she knows that Orhun saved her sister, Selma thanks him and apologizes for being so rude. Leaving that aside, she mentions that she hasn't seen him since the raid, and it's their first time talking like this. Sophia is still kind of surprised that they know each other, so her sister tells her that they're both enchanters, so they were stationed together in the raid last month. Orhun clarifies that she took command and he helped her, but Selma tells him that he actually helped a lot, and it was just what she expected. Sophia mentions that she speaks like she's known him for a while, but Selma is surprised that she doesn't know about him. She informs her that he's a member of the hero's party, and that fact makes Sophia immediately freak out. Orhun asks her not to get so flustered and tells them that he's not a hero anymore because he left his party just the day before. Selma is clearly shocked at that, and she doesn't understand why they'd let somebody like him go. Orhun tells her that they had their reasons and both of them agreed to it, so he's free at the moment. Selma instantly looks interested, and Orhun wonders if she's going to recruit him to the Silver Rabbits. Before she can speak, he tells her that he doesn't want to be in a clan or party for a while. Selma tells him that he's got the wrong idea and clarifies that she has the perfect job for him. She wants him to go with their clan on their teaching expedition tomorrow, and she'll make sure he gets paid. Just like the name implies, it's to teach the new recruits, and he can think of it as on-the-job training. A group of A rank and higher will lead the new recruits, and they'll spend 3 days going 50 floors down in the southern Great Dungeon. Orhun is a little surprised when he hears it'll only be 3 days because even the best adventurers would take 6 months to a year, so that's a pretty crazy schedule. Selma admits that it is, but she clarifies that it's not impossible if they take the shortest route, and their sponsors are insisting. Orhun mentions that the Silver Rabbits have it rough in that case, but what they're proposing is crazy enough that they should have been able to turn down their sponsors. If they're doing it anyway, there must be some other reason. Without thinking too hard on it, Orhun comes to a conclusion, saying that if new recruits who wouldn't be able to beat a floor boss on their own can go exploring in the deeper floor, it'll strengthen the clan as a whole. Selma is clearly surprised that he realized just from the few things she said, and that alone lets her know that he's smarter than she thought. In the dungeons, adventurers need to defeat the floor bosses that appear every 10 floors to go any deeper. It's common for new recruits to be injured or killed during these battles, but if a veteran adventurer can take the boss down, then all they have to do is register with the crystal on the next floor to go deeper. That's why they want him to go with them. Orhun mentions that it sounds like a really important mission for the Silver Rabbits, so he asks her if it's really okay for an outsider like him to be there. Selma holds his hands with no hesitation and tells him that she genuinely respects him. Orhun is taken by surprise once again because he can't believe that Selma respects him as an enchanter. It clearly makes him happy, but he doesn't understand why, since he was banished from the hero's party for being too weak, and because his magic was worse than hers during the raid. He'll definitely regret it if he has to go back to being an enchanter after what just happened to him, so he simply declines her proposal, saying that he has other plans. Sophia quickly intervenes and tells him that she's going too, so it would make her really happy if he went with her. Orhun's resolve falters for a moment when he sees her pleading expression, so he tells her that he'll think about it. Before leaving, he clarifies that he has converted to being a swordsman, so even though it seems she respects him as an enchanter, if he's going, it will be as a swordsman. Selma is clearly surprised by that information, and she asks him why he did that. Orhun understands her shock, but he already made a decision, and this is something he won't give up. Selma decides to accept it, even though she doesn't understand, because deep down, she thinks that if things get bad, he'll go back to his main job of enchanter. She asks him to be at the Silver Rabbit headquarters tomorrow morning if he decides to go, and with that, she ends the conversation. That night, Orhun decides to visit an old man who tells him that it was another busy day at his shop. Orhun is glad to know he's doing well, and the old man reminds him that it's thanks to him advertising the store after he became a top adventurer. Orhun's expression turns sad at that, and he tells him that he's not a member of the hero's party anymore, so he won't be able to advertise him any longer. After all, now that he's not a hero, nobody will listen to a thing he says. Despite this, the old man tells him that he's grateful to him. He always has been, and he always will be, because he's still Orhun, whether he's a hero or not. Orhun is clearly moved, unable to understand that he would thank someone like him. The old man reminds him that he knows what he's done, how hard he's worked, better than anyone, so he knows that from here on out, he'll be hearing even more of his gratitude. These words mean that there are people out there who need him, so he must treasure those words every time he hears them. Things are just starting for him, so he just has to do as he thinks best. If he lives for himself or helps others, he'll be on his side, whatever happens. Orhun holds back tears at his words, and all he can do is thank the old man, because now he knows what to do. The next morning, he meets Selma at the Silver Rabbit's headquarters, just like she instructed him the day before. She's clearly glad to see him there, and asks him to follow her inside right away. While they're walking, she mentions that he looks way livelier than he did yesterday, so she can guess he's relieved to be out of the hero's party now. Orhun smiles back at her and admits that it's something like that, though he doesn't give her any details, knowing that there is no need to. Once they're finally inside, Vince Briars, the head of the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, welcomes Orhun, saying that he's heard about him. Orhun properly introduces himself and tells him that he's honored to meet the leader of such a famous clan. Vince clarifies that he doesn't need to be so on edge, since he's heard that he left the hero's party, and they don't need to spend their time trying to figure out what the other person's really thinking. Orhun agrees, and tells him that he'd like to hear more about this teaching expedition first, so Vince asks Selma to explain. Once they're settled, Selma informs him that they're going from floor 1 to floor 51 of the Great Dungeon in 3 days. Specifically, they'll end on floor 21 on day 1, floor 36 on day 2, and so on. The scene shifts to show a fragment of the past when Selma informs Vince about Orhun leaving the hero's party. Vince mentions that that's a major loss for them, because without him, they won't be nearly as strong. Selma agrees, saying that his support magic took them to a level they weren't otherwise capable of. Orhun's support magic effects are less powerful than average, but his casting speed is incredible, and it's at least 4 times faster than her own. Moreover, he was using multiple original spells, and his ability to analyze a situation, predict the next move, and provide magical support at just the right time makes him have all the skills an enchanter needs. With him gone, the hero's party is going to get a lot weaker, and it's more likely now that the Silver Rabbits return to the top. Vince mentions that he heard about him during their joint raid, but he still finds this all hard to believe. Selma tells him that enchanters often don't receive the credit they deserve, and even though she knows that she's famous, people think too highly of her, and the truly powerful, like Orhun, don't stand out. Back to the present time, Orhun understands that there's essentially 10 parties of rookies and 5 escorts, including himself and Selma. The rookie parties will handle the monsters on a rotation, and if something out of the ordinary occurs, the escorts will deal with it. Selma confirms that, and Orhun decides to ask her why there's only 5 escorts. After all, if this insane schedule is really necessary, they would normally want to reduce the risk by taking multiple A-rank parties to support the rookies. Selma and Vince exchange glances for a moment, and after hesitating a little, she explains that their goal is to take the rookies to floor 51, but a bit of extra stress will help them grow. This is the perfect chance for them to get that experience, or so she thinks, but Orhun knows that that's not the real reason behind this. Pulling this off is incredibly important to them, so there must be some other reason why, but they're not going to tell him, an outsider. That's why Orhun decides not to ask any other questions, and finally accepts to help them. Vince thanks him, saying that he'll receive 2 gold pieces in advance, and 10 more if the mission is successful. Orhun reluctantly accepts, but he asks him if that's not a bit much, because it's a year's worth of living expenses. Selma tells him that they simply value him that highly, and with that, she ends the conversation. Orhun is a little surprised that that they value him that much, but that clearly makes him happy, so he decides that he'll do the best he can. The next day, the clan prepares for the expedition at the entrance of the Great Dungeon. Selma and Sophia greet Orhun as soon as he arrives, and he notices that Sophia's outfit is different from the last time he saw her. He assumes that it's some kind of uniform for rookies, but he decides to give her a compliment, saying that she looks good in it. This takes Sophia by surprise, and Selma's expression immediately turns terrified when she notices how flustered and happy her little sister looks. Feeling defensive, she tells Orhun that he seems to know how to flatter a lady, so she wants to know if he has a girlfriend or something. Orhun quickly denies it and explains that some members of the hero's party were female, so if he's used to talking to girls, that's probably why. Selma instantly backs down, because all of them lived in the same mansion, so what he's saying is probably true. Sophia gets curious and asks him where he lives now, so Orhun tells her that he's staying at an inn for the moment, though he knows that he needs to find a place soon. Selma freaks out once again and questions Sophia for asking something like that, wanting to know if she's planning on paying him a visit. Sophia nervously denies it, clearly embarrassed, and explains that she was simply curious. Once Selma gets it back together, she asks Orhun why he's so far away from the rest of the group. Orhun tells her that he's an outsider, so he thought he might make the rookies nervous. Selma admits that they're all looking tense right now, so she's going to ask for his help to loosen them up. Without wasting any time, she asks him to follow her and asks Sophia to go find her party. Selma introduces Orhun to the other 3 escorts of the expedition and guarantees them that he's strong. Knowing that she's vouching for him, the escorts are sure that they can trust him then. Orhun gets a little nervous and asks Selma not to raise expectations for him, but she simply smiles and asks him not to be so humble. That aside, Orhun introduces himself as a frontline attacker, and each one of the escorts also introduce themselves. The one with black hair introduces himself as Anthem, saying that he's a defender. The blonde one tells him that he's Bernard, also a defender. And lastly, the girl tells him that she's Kathy, and she's a healer. Orhun notices that leaves Selma and he, an attacker and an enchanter. It's a balanced party, but if he hadn't come, he wonders if they were going to have someone else double as an attacker. That makes him think that something definitely seems wrong about this whole thing, but he still hasn't found out what it is. Selma sees the doubt on his face, and for a moment she remembers the conversation she had with Vince before. He told her that he knew how she felt, losing such a powerful ace, but Orhun is supposed to be an enchanter like her. Given the need for party balance, he told her that he couldn't let him be part of the first group, and she already knew this. Selma can't help but think that they haven't moved a step forward since last year, so they're still trapped, and they can't take back what they've lost. That's why she turned to Orhun, but he volunteered to be a swordsman, and if he can't function as a frontline attacker, things won't go as she expected. Orhun notices her concern for a moment, but Selma quickly goes back to normal and tells everyone that they've got 3 days of hard work ahead of them. She takes Orhun to greet the rookies and decides to give a speech before the expedition. Selma tells all the rookies that today they begin their descent to the 51st floor of the Great Dungeon. They all look very tense, so she asks them if they're all scared to head to the middle levels of the Great Dungeon so soon. Without letting them reply, she asks them not to worry, saying that she's brought a powerful helper in case something happens. Selma then introduces them to Orhun, saying that he's reached floor 94, where even they have yet to go. The sudden introduction takes Orhun by surprise, and soon all the rookies are whispering about him, clearly impressed. Selma tells them that if they want to be dungeon explorers themselves, then they must know him, because he was a member of the hero's party, so he knows the Great Dungeon better than any of them. All the rookies are instantly amazed by that information, and it makes them more excited than before. Meanwhile, Orhun completely pales, because he didn't expect Selma to expose him like that. Despite this, Selma doesn't regret any of her words, because now all the rookies are excited to go into the dungeon. She asks everyone to stay on standby until it's time to head in, and decides to do the final checks with the other escorts. Once he can finally speak, Orhun tells Selma that she was playing it up a little too much during her speech. Selma doesn't think the same, because he really has been to floor 94, and he can't deny that. She explains that part of their job is to make sure they can relax and focus on the dungeon. Orhun has no way to argue against that, but he still doesn't feel good about this, because he only wants the title of hero to help the old man's shop, so he hopes this doesn't come around to bite him. Leaving that aside, Selma tells him that she wants him to escort Group 10, because they're their most promising rookies. If they can learn to work as a party, they'll easily be able to make it to the middle floors, so she hopes he can help them with that. Orhun accepts the task, though he doesn't know if she should be entrusting their star rookies to an outsider like him. Once Orhun meets Group 10's members, he notices that Sophia is one of them, and in total, there are only 3 rookies. This clearly is strange, so he even asks if someone is late, but they let him know that this is all of them. A 3-member party is rare, because the fewer people in a party, the more dangerous it is, especially for rookies. One of the kids notices his concern, and quickly explains that they're only a 3-member party because nobody can keep up with them. Orhun is a little surprised by how confident he is, so he knows that they've got high hopes for this kid, but if he's this young and has that attitude, he's worried for his future. That aside, knowing that all the members are present, Orhun asks them to introduce themselves. The kid quickly jumps to introduce himself first, saying that he's Group 10's leader, Logan Hayward, an enchanter, and the man who will someday surpass Selma herself. Orhun confirms once again again how confident he is, but he doesn't say anything about it and lets the next member speak. The girl next to Logan introduces herself as Caroline Inglot, saying that she's a defender. Orhun mentions the fact that she's not wearing any armor to be a defender and asks her if she's going to put on her armor once they're in the dungeon. Caroline gets a little disappointed to know that he's asking the same question as everyone else and explains that she's a defender who doesn't use armor or a shield. Orhun assumes that she only dodges instead of block, and Caroline confirms it, saying that she doesn't want monsters touching her, but she wants to kill lots of them, so she chose to be a defender to get as close as possible. A dodge-type defender usually dodges using speed instead of using their defense to block attacks, but Orhun warns her that achieving that is hard until she gets combat experience. Logan tells him that everyone in the clan tried to warn her already, but she just ignored them. Caroline tells him that he also doesn't listen to what the teachers say, but Logan tells her that he doesn't have to, because he's just that good. Sophia quickly tries to stop their bantering, but Orhun already knows that they're the problem kids. Lastly, even though they already know each other, Sophia also introduces herself, saying that she's a rear attacker, a caster. Orhun smiles, and even if everything she said was normal, he feels much more at ease for some reason. Despite this, he knows that this mission actually seems kind of difficult, especially because Logan and Caroline are still fighting even now. Once it's finally time, their descent in the dungeon begins, and even though they were causing such a ruckus outside, they went totally silent as soon as they stepped into the dungeon. As they walk, Caroline decides to ask him why someone from the heroes' party is on this expedition. She wants to know if that means they don't see their clan as rivals, but Orhun simply asks her if she didn't listen to what Selma said and reminds her that he just used to be a member. Caroline immediately asks him why he left, because everyone admires the heroes' party, so it's such a waste. Orhun starts getting a little tired because she's not letting it drop, and even though she doesn't seem to mean anything by it, he just can't handle this type. Much to his pain, Caroline pushes even more and continues questioning him about it. Orhun tells her that it's none of her business, so Caroline changes the subject and asks him if he and Sophia know each other. Orhun confirms this, and Caroline mentions that Sophia said somebody amazing would be coming with them. Sophia gets a little nervous, but she admits that he's the amazing guy she was talking about because he saved her life. He was strong, and said that he was part of the heroes' party, and her sister said that they wouldn't have to worry at all if he was here. Caroline tells her that she doesn't need to be so nervous in that case, because she's got a hero here with her. Orhun doesn't say anything, despite knowing that he's not a hero, but he notices that Caroline brought this up to get Sophia to calm down. That makes him think that maybe she's more considerate of others than she appears. After a while, some monsters start approaching them, as expected, but the trap spells Orhun set work just fine to get rid of them without problem. They're hard for the enemy to detect until they actually got off, so it's a good way to deal with monsters to their rear without slowing them down. They don't have a lot of time, and he doesn't want to waste it on useless battles, so he'll keep setting trap spells as they move on. The group reaches the floor 20 after a while, and Orhun has been keeping an eye on how they fight, so he confirmed that they'll probably be good for the rest of the teaching expedition. He thought that Logan was just a rookie with a big head, but he has real skill as an enchanter. If he can keep it up for longer battles, he could easily function in an A-rank party, so he really is a genius. He loses points for being bad at giving orders, since that's necessary for an enchanter, but he'll get better with more experience for sure. On the other hand, Caroline's speed is as good as he'd expect from someone who wants to be a dodge-type defender, but there are two issues. The first problem is that when she sees a monster, she'll run right at it. Since she's trying to be a defender, she should be trying to get close to the enemy, but watching her scares him. The other problem is that she just uses 2 daggers for weapons, and they're a good fit for her style, but that's maybe not enough destructive power for this party. Lastly, Sophia's not as impressive as the other two, but she's stronger than a rookie already. She was a little passive, but that'll change once she opens up to her party members, and she doesn't have any big rookie flaws, so he can't wait to see how she grows. Soon enough, the other escorts and group of rookies defeat the floor 20 boss, so they finally head to the 21st floor like they planned. Selma asks them to register the floor on their guild card, and they'll be done for the day. Once they head out of the Great Dungeon, Selma asks Orhun if he enjoyed being an escort. Orhun tells her that, just like she said, Group 10 has a lot of potential, but they're not really working together, and he's especially worried about Caroline. Selma laughs nervously and tells him that she has actually improved a lot, but that only makes Orhun question what she used to be like in that case. They finally say goodbye, and the next morning, Orhun is completely distraught when he reads the newspaper and sees Oliver in the front page article. The article talks about the heroes' party and how they have a new enchanter now. In other words, his being banished from the party is now public knowledge. Orhun slams the newspaper on the desk, saying that they have no idea how much this hurts him. He wishes that they had at least waited until the teaching expedition was over, and he can't imagine all the rookies read this paper, but if any of them do, he can see it changing their opinion of him. With resignation, Orhun grabs his coat and heads out of the inn, knowing that there is no sense in thinking about it now, and there's nothing he can do. He decides that he'll head to the meeting point already, but as he's walking in the city, a girl suddenly calls for his name. Orhun immediately stops in his tracks, recognizing that voice all too well, and when he turns around, he sees Luna, a member of the heroes' party. He doesn't move from his spot, still a little shocked, so Luna is the one who decides to approach him, saying that it's been a long time. When Orhun was in the heroes' party, even as the other members shores were growing colder and colder toward him. Luna always treated him the same as ever, no matter what. When he was banished, she was away on some errand at home, but he knows that if Luna had been there, things would have gone differently. Orhun can't help but smile, realizing that he's still got some attachments to the hero's party. He asks her if she needs anything, but is surprised when Luna suddenly asks him to come back to their party because they need his strength. Despite his initial surprise, Orhun already knew that she might say that because she always thought highly of him. Orhun tells her that he doesn't think that that's what the rest of the party wants, especially after seeing the article in today's paper. Luna apparently doesn't know what article he's talking about and admits that she is actually asking on her own. Still, she assures him that if he'll come with her, she will do her best to persuade everyone. Orhun gets surprised at that, realizing that Luna is actually serious about bringing him back. However, his expression turns sad because he knows that it's too late now for a lot of reasons. Orhun tells her that after that article got published, he can't possibly go back, and he doesn't want to go back either. Luna sadly apologizes, saying that she hasn't seen today's paper, so she doesn't know what it said. Even so, she takes his hands and reminds him that they promised that they'd clear the Great Dungeon together. That statement visibly hurts Orhun, who harshly pulls his hand away and reminds her that they made that promise with Oliver, and Oliver was the one who kicked him out, so it's never going to happen now. Luna doesn't know what to say to that, but before she can speak, Orhun apologizes and leaves without another word, leaving her alone. Deep down, Orhun wanted the three of them to remain the way they always were, to fulfill that promise they made as kids, but there's no going back now, and there's no place for him there because it all ended that day. Orhun heads to the Great Dungeon for the expedition, but he's still thinking about what he read in the newspaper. The article in today's newspaper said that he was banished from the hero's party because he was weak, and even though he knew this would happen, he doesn't know why it had to happen now. He can't help but wonder how many people will still trust him after reading that article, especially after all the things Selma said about him. All the rookies of the expedition are talking about that, and Logan remembers that Orhun said yesterday that he was the one who left, but if he was banished, the truth would be totally different. Orhun finally arrives, and by the way the kids greet him, he can already tell that it's totally different from yesterday. Though after all the bragging Selma did on his behalf, he can understand why they're confused. Selma quickly comes running to him to apologize, saying that she had no idea. Orhun smiles and tells her that there's no reason for her to apologize, and if she can't get herself under control, their teaching expedition will be a failure. Selma insists, saying that she used him to inspire the new recruits so much yesterday, but she should have been more careful. Orhun assures her that he's fine, and clarifies that he's the one who should apologize for causing trouble by not being clear. He tells her that he'll back them up during their dungeon delve, so she must hold her head high like she always does. Bernard says that it's still true that Orhun made it to floor 94, and even that is incredible. Kathy and Anthem agree, saying that they're not worried at all, and Selma recognizes that they were just fine yesterday too. Orhun decides to show them more of the same today, so he heads to the group assigned to him and greets them. Sophia instantly tells him that the article in today's newspaper is full of lies, and Caroline agrees, saying that none of that matters. Logan, on the other hand, asks him if it's true, and Orhun admits that the vast majority is. This takes him by surprise, so Orhun tells him that if he's asking if he was too weak, then the answer is yes. That's why he's not the hero everybody expects right now, and he wants to apologize for not telling them. Logan starts wondering just what's going on here, but Sophia stubbornly insists, saying that Orhun was strong, and he defeated over a dozen orcs in an instant, so she knows that he's not weak. Orhun thanks her for her trust, and tells them that he does have enough strength to get them to floor 51. He's not a hero anymore, but as Orhun Dura, just an explorer, he swears that he'll protect them, so he wants them to do their best on their dungeon dive, just like they did yesterday. Sophia and Caroline quickly accept, but Logan is clearly still very confused, and he feels a little dumb for getting excited. Once the expedition starts, they head to the southern Great Dungeon, floor 21, knowing that they have to reach floor 35 today. Orhun follows them closely, knowing that the escorts won't be giving any instructions now until they get to the middle floors, starting on floor 31. Until then, it'll be just like yesterday, with the new recruits taking the lead. Sophia and Caroline take the lead, defeating monsters until they reach floor 29, and Orhun praises them for their good work, glad to see that they still believe in him. They reach the 31st floor after a while, so Orhun will be giving the orders from now on, and he needs to stay sharp. He stops the group to tell them that he senses monsters ahead, so he asks them to be ready. The girls follow his instructions, but Logan remains silent, still, and several goblins start approaching them. Orhun instructs Caroline to draw the goblins' attention, so she runs straight toward them with her daggers, as she always does. Orhun then orders Sophia to take the orcs in the back, and asks Logan to boost them with magic. Without letting him finish, Logan uses agility up, technical up, and magic up to support the girls, knowing that Orhun's orders are the ones that anybody would give, which makes him think that maybe he's nothing special after all. That doesn't change his job anyway, so he focuses on boosting the girls' abilities with his support magic. Once he takes care of Caroline, Logan notices that Sophia is way too scared to move. He knows that she said that she was attacked by orcs before, and realizes that she's too traumatized to move now. Logan sees that Orhun is doing nothing to help her, and knows that he can't count on him after all, so he'll have to save her himself. Just then, Orhun uses agility down on the orc, making it weaker and slower in a second. He then reassures Sophia, reminding her that she's got her comrades Caroline and Logan, as well as him, so she's not alone now. Sophia manages to calm down and decides to give it her best, casting a powerful fire javelin against the orc. This surprises everyone, including Orhun, but Sophia ends up feeling exhausted. Orhun is still a little shocked, because no one told him that she could use advanced magic. Caroline immediately forgets what she's doing, and runs towards Sophia to tell her how amazing that was. Orhun also praises her, so Sophia quickly recovers, feeling happy that it worked. Logan observes the whole thing in disbelief, knowing that Orhun caused that debuff on the orc, which makes the fact that he got vanished from the heroes party even more confusing. They finally reach floor 35 and find a huge death tarantula there, but Logan immediately thinks that they're not strong enough to fight that thing. Orhun calmly instructs him to give Caroline an agility up and durable up, and to give Sophia a magic up. Logan is shocked to receive the same orders as always, even against this enemy. Without letting him think, Caroline runs straight toward the death tarantula, so Logan tries to stop her. Orhun asks him to wait, and explains that if he goes to the front, he'll be at a disadvantage. He then instructs Caroline to jump over the tarantula while she slashes at its back. Caroline follows his instructions and easily slashes the back of the tarantula, so Orhun asks her to keep it focused on her. He warns her that the death tarantula is venomous, so she must watch its attacks carefully and make sure she dodges. Logan quickly uses his support magic on her, so Caroline manages to rapidly dodge each one of the tarantula's attacks. After blocking one of the attacks with her daggers, she backs up and makes sure to keep the tarantula's attention on her. The death tarantula follows her, and Orhun reminds Logan that Caroline's mobility is depending on him, so he must support her. Logan remains focused on that, so Orhun asks Sophia to pin him down. Sophia wastes no time and uses her staff to cast an attack named Arrow Cutter, which manages to cut off 4 of the tarantula's legs in a second. The death tarantula instantly falls, so Caroline cheers at their victory, but Orhun warns them that it's still not over. Without giving any explanations, he asks Logan to give Caroline a strength up and technical up. Logan doesn't understand why, but he follows his instructions anyway, using his support magic on Caroline. Just then, the death tarantula shoots its spider webs at Caroline, trapping her in an instant. Logan panics as Caroline gets slowly dragged toward the tarantula's mouth, but Orhun remains calm and instructs Caroline to cut the webs with her daggers, because she's strong enough now. Caroline desperately tries to move her arms to cut the webs with her daggers, and Logan starts wondering if Orhun gave him those orders because he knew this would happen. Orhun asks Sophia to prepare a rock arrow, and he instructs Logan to give her another magic up because the last one is about to wear off. Logan quickly complies, but Caroline starts panicking even more, saying that she can't cut the webs. Orhun observes the situation, knowing that Logan can only use 3 spells at once, so he has no other choice. He decides to use sharpness up, enhancing Caroline's daggers, which allows her to finally cut the webs. Once she's free, Sophia uses rock arrow and manages to defeat the death tarantula with 1 hit. Caroline runs to her and cheers as always, and Orhun praises Logan for his work, saying that this worked because of his support magic. Logan thanks him, and Orhun tells them that it's time to head back. Once everyone's outside, Selma tells them that tomorrow's their last day, so they have to make sure to get enough rest to be ready for it. Before Orhun can leave, Bernard and Anthem approach him and invite him to go with them to get something to eat. Orhun is a little surprised that they want him to join them, and they don't really seem to be bothered by him, which is good. That's why he decides to accept, knowing that they didn't get much of a chance to talk while exploring, so this might be a good opportunity. Meanwhile, Logan asks Sophia about the time Orhun saved her, and she tells him that it was 3 days ago, in a newly discovered dungeon. Logan asks her if he was all alone, and once he confirms this, he asks her to tell him all about what he was like. Sophia doesn't know what to tell him, so Logan asks her if she remembers what spells he used, or how he fought. Sophia tries her best to remember, and tells him that there was this incredible wind blast he used against the orcs. He also did what looked like powering up his sword with support magic to fight. Logan assumes that it was sharpness up, knowing that it's a support spell used on weapons, not people. Caroline gets excited and mentions that he used that today too, because her daggers got a lot sharper in a second, and she was honestly surprised. Logan asks Sophia if Orhun was using a sword when he saved her, and Sophia affirms this, saying that he was slicing through the orcs. Logan understands that Orhun apparently can fight with a sword, not just magic. Sophia tells him that she really doesn't know why, but he said that after leaving the heroes party, he converted to being a frontline attacker. That takes Logan by surprise, but he quickly says that that doesn't make sense, because he was acting like the perfect enchanter today. After remembering Orhun's performance today in the dungeon, Logan realizes that he misunderstood this morning. When he learned that Orhun had been banished from the heroes party, he was disappointed and angry, like he had betrayed his expectations for him. However, in the battle with those orcs, Orhun secretly used agility down, a spell that lowers its opponent's abilities, a so-called debuff. He's heard that even Selma rarely uses them because they're just that hard to use, but Orhun seemed to use it easily. And then there's their battle with the death tarantula on floor 35, which was the first battle when he realized the importance of formations. If the defender keeps the enemy distracted, the attacker and supporter can stay focused on their next move. That's the ideal way to fight, and Orhun also knew exactly when the buffs on his party would end. He even predicted the death tarantula's last attack when Caroline got trapped by the webs. Orhun was reading where the battle would go and giving the perfect orders, so he was far above him. Knowing that, Logan doesn't understand why he would convert to being a a frontline attacker. Caroline asks Sophia if Orhun is strong as a frontline attacker too, and she tells her that he is. Sophia reminds them that, like she said this morning, Orhun took down over a dozen orcs in an instant. Caroline easily gets impressed, saying that she wants to be that strong soon as well. Sophia agrees and assures her that she's going to get stronger too, so they have to do their best. Logan remains silent once again, still thinking about the situation and the fact that Orhun is apparently a good frontline attacker too. He knows that that's what a real genius is like, but he's not going to give up either way, so he will steal everything he can from him and get stronger. Caroline interrupts his thoughts to tell him that he's got a scary look on his face right now, and she asks him if he's tired or something. Just then, Logan snaps out of his thoughts and tells her that he was just psyching himself up for tomorrow. Caroline gets excited to know that he's all ready to go, so she decides to psych herself up too. In the meantime, Bernard and Anthem tell Orhun that they will pay today, so he can get anything he wants to eat. Orhun thanks them, but Bernard mentions that he was in the heroes party, so he must have partied a lot. Orhun tells him that that's not the case at all, and explains that he did all the errands and busy work, so he didn't have much time to have fun. Anthem tells him that that sounds rough, and Bernard says that that makes the article even worse, because there was no need to put it like that. Anthem agrees, and tells Orhun that he should just forget it. Orhun admits that just hearing them say that makes him happy, and he thanks them for that. Anthem mentions the fact that he was an enchanter in the heroes party, but he said that he was a frontline attacker when they first met. Bernard says that he's curious about that too, and wants to know which one it is. Orhun tells them that he uses a sword right now, because he converted when he left the heroes party. He used to be a swordsman in the heroes party too, and wanted to be one more than anybody when he was a kid, so he was really happy when he got the position. Anthem asks him if maybe a parent of his was a swordsman, since it's something he wanted since he was a kid. Orhun informs him that it was actually his grandfather, who was a former explorer, and when a monster appeared in their village one day, he defeated it with a single sword. Seeing that made him want to become a swordsman, so he tried his best to achieve it. Anthem asks him why he ended up being an enchanter if he wanted to be a swordsman so badly. Orhun explains that it happened when the heroes party started going to the lower floors and their pace started to drop. The monsters get a lot stronger when they go down there, so of course they were going slower. However, at the same time, they didn't understand that, and since they wanted to move on quickly, they started thinking about enchanters, which were getting popular at the time. Since he was a jack of all trades who could do anything, he was the one they chose. Anthem understands that it was for party reasons, but he mentions that that still got him all the way to floor 94, so it was the right thing to do. Orhun disagrees, saying that it wasn't a good way to do it, because even if he did switch, they should have slowed down, gotten stronger. Both Bernard and Anthem get a little confused, not knowing what he's talking about, and just then, Orhun realizes that he said too much. He quickly backtracks and apologizes, saying that he is being a bit harsh on his old party right now. Orhun knows that he can't say any more than that, so he decides to end the conversation right there. The chance that the heroes party will be able to get any further than floor 94 is 0, but he's not about to mention that to them. Bernard tries changing the subject and asks him what his ideal swordsman is, hoping that he can tell them that. Orhun thinks about it for a moment and tells him that he could say it'd be an amazing jack of all trades. Both Anthem and Bernard are a little confused with his answer, so Orhun explains that it is basically a swordsman who could get through even the lower floors on his own. That's what he wants to be, and the reason he decided to convert. Despite their initial surprise, Anthem and Bernard smile and tell him that, knowing him, they're sure it will happen. In another scene, once they get home, both Caroline and Sophia decide to take a shower to relax after a long day. Caroline mentions the fact that their teaching expedition ends tomorrow already, and that will be goodbye to Orhun. Sophia already knows that, but she is still trying to process the fact that she won't be seeing him anymore after tomorrow. She wishes he would stay with the night sky rabbits, and Caroline tells her that she should ask him to. She assures her that he might do it if she just asks him to, just like Selma does all the time. Sophia quickly tells her that Orhun isn't like her sister, and asking him would be too selfish, so she's sure it wouldn't work anyway. Despite knowing this, Sophia still thinks that it truly would be too sad to never see him again after this teaching expedition, so she starts considering asking him the next time she sees him. The next day, several people are gathered outside the Great Dungeon, and they all turn their heads when they notice that the famous heroes party has arrived. Oliver keeps his head up with pride as he walks with the other members, but Luna is the only one of them who doesn't look happy at all. It's finally the last day of the expedition, and Orhun knows that today is the last time he'll be seeing this sight. Soon enough, the group 10 approaches him to greet him, and this time, Logan looks more excited than before. Caroline mentions that it would make her happy if they got a reward for pulling this off. Logan asks her if there's anything she wants, and Caroline confidently confirms it, reminding Sophia of the conversation they had before. Sophia knows what she's talking about, but she panics and decides not to say anything. Caroline insists either way, saying that Sophia has something she wants from him too. Orhun asks her what it is, so Sophia tries to gather the courage to say it, but she gets interrupted by Selma, who asks Orhun for some help. In the meantime, some rookies talk about the new heroes party, saying that they heard it's going into the deepest part of the dungeon today. They're starting with floor 92, apparently, because they need to see how they work together as a new party. Orhun manages to hear their conversation, but he finds it a bit strange, because if they want to see how they work together, they should be starting with the lesser floors, not the deeper ones. That's not his problem problem anymore though, so he simply decides to ignore it. Meanwhile, on the floor 92 of the Southern Great Dungeon, Oliver says that it's time for the Reborn Heroes Party to have its first adventure because that loser isn't holding them back anymore. They have a new comrade now, and they're aiming to clear the Southern Great Dungeon. The new enchanter thanks them for having her, and Derek asks her to show them what she can do. Annalie assures him it'll be fine, because she's not like that jack-of-all-trades who was holding them back. Luna remains silent all the time, but Oliver believes that even she should understand after this dungeon dive that they were right. In a change of scene, we see a memory from 2 days ago when the new enchanter introduces herself as Philly Carpenter. Oliver mentions that she's a skilled adventurer who reached the 100th floor in the Western Great Dungeon, and she'll be their party's first real enchanter. Philly thanks them for this wonderful welcome party they made for her, and Derek says that they need to party now that Orhun is gone. He also mentions that he was shocked to see the accounts he was managing, because it turns out they had plenty of money. Annalie says that she doesn't know why he was so stingy, since money is no good if he doesn't use it. Philly reluctantly asks them if that money isn't for the party's activities, but Oliver interrupts her and says that that's enough about Orhun, because this is her welcome party. Everyone decides to cheer, but that's when Luna suddenly shows up, saying that she needs to check something. She doesn't recognize Philly at all, but Oliver asks her to continue, and Luna says that she heard that Orhun is going into the Great Dungeon with the Night Sky Silver Rabbits. Oliver is clearly shocked by that information, and Annalie quickly gets defensive, asking how he could end up with the rabbits after just 3 days. Derek wonders if he still thinks he's an S rank after they told him how weak he was, but Luna has no idea what they're talking about. She asks them what happened while she was gone, but Oliver only asks her to stay calm. Annalie interrupts him and tells her that that jack-of-all-trades left the party 3 days ago. Oliver confirms this, and Luna is hurt to know that he finally gave up on them. Derek quickly intervenes, saying that she's making it sound like they're the ones who got ditched, but it's the other way around, since they kicked that jack-of-all-trades out. Luna's expression changes instantly at that, but Oliver confirms this without regrets, and introduces her to their new enchanter, and Orhun's replacement, Philly Carpenter. Luna calmly mentions that she thought she had made it clear that she was opposed to anyone taking Orhun's place. Oliver tells her that she has to understand that Orhun is not strong enough for them anymore. Luna tells him that she understands nothing of the sort, because Orhun is clearly the core of this party. They only made it this far because of him, so they can't go any further without him. Annalie tells her that even though she thinks that jack-of-all-trades is something special, the rest of them doesn't, and it's too late, because no amount of complaining will change anything. Despite her frustration, Luna admits that it is too late, and Oliver is glad that she won't argue anymore. Since they're all reunited, he decides to talk about their immediate plans, since it's Philly's first time working with them. That's why, in 2 days, they'll test how they work together on floor 92, and if everything works out, they'll move to floor 94. Luna immediately lets him know that she's opposed to this, because she has no desire to end up dead. After all, even if Philly is a skilled enchanter, they should learn to work together on a lesser floor. The others don't understand what she's talking about, and Derek reminds her that they've already reached floor 93, so floor 92 should be simple. Luna reminds them that there's a black dragon down there, and they were only barely able to win last time. Derek assures her that it was because Orhun was around, and Annalie agrees, saying that without that jack-of-all-trades holding them back, it'll be easy. Luna clarifies that she doesn't want them to misunderstand this, and warns them that the black dragon is massively more powerful than them. Oliver cuts her off and says that their goal is merely to see how they work together, so they're not going to fight the black dragon. Derek contradicts him and says that they're totally going to fight it, so Luna tries to warn them that it's far too risky to go to the lowest floors without Orhun. Oliver doesn't let her finish, and clarifies that this has been decided already, so she isn't allowed to refuse. Back to the present time, they fight the monster on floor 92, but Oliver notices that his sword can't hurt it. He quickly gets out of the way before getting struck by the monster, but his body starts feeling heavy. He realizes that every time his buffs wear off, it's like his whole body is covered in weights, and he can't keep this up. Oliver asks Philly why their buffs keep wearing off, and she nervously apologizes, saying that she hasn't figured out how they all fight yet. Oliver is surprised that it takes her so long to figure out, since Orhun had everything figured out within an hour or so on the first day. Derek uses his shield to block the monster's attack, but it ends up being stronger than he expected, and it almost hits Annalie. He doesn't understand what's going on, because he used to be able to easily block stuff like that. Annalie decides to use a fire bullet to attack, but this does absolutely nothing to the monster. Her attack is so weak that even Oliver thinks that she's just messing around, but she assures him that she's doing it like she always does. Oliver then asks Philly to buff Annalie, but Philly lets him know that she already has. He asks her to do it again, and Philly quickly complies, but Annalie's attack spells are as weak as before, so she has no choice but to run away from the monster. Oliver doesn't understand what's going on, because Philly's support magic is supposed to be much more powerful than Orhun. The monster continues attacking them, and Derek barely can block the blows anymore. Oliver quickly asks Annalie to get around to its side, but the monster easily spots her and attacks her right away. Annalie panics, because this never happened before, but Oliver doesn't back down and asks Philly to watch the monster's next attack and warn them. Philly tells him that that's impossible, but Oliver reminds her that it's the enchanter's job to keep an eye on everything and understand the flow of battle. Philly apologizes apologizes, saying that it's all she can do right now to cast her support magic. Annalie calls her useless without hesitation, and Oliver tries to think about what to do because Derek and Annalie aren't as strong as they usually are, and neither is he, since he can't draw out his sword's power at all today. In theory, Philly's support magic has massively increased his physical abilities, so he doesn't understand why they're so weak. Luna can't believe that he still doesn't understand, and Oliver asks her to explain what happened to them. Annalie is just angry that she's not telling them already, since they're all comrades. Luna has no choice but to tell them, but before she can explain the reason they're weaker, everyone freezes when the black dragon suddenly appears at the worst possible moment. Oliver can't believe what he's seeing because the black dragon isn't supposed to leave the boss area. As the black dragon lands in front of them, Luna immediately tells them that they have to run away and get out of here. Derek stubbornly refuses, and Annalie agrees, confidently saying that she'll take it down. Luna warns them that they can't beat it, but Oliver tells her that there's no time for arguing and reminds her that they have defeated it once before, so they can do it now. Luna stares at him like he has lost his mind, but the group tries to fight the dragon before she can stop them. Derek tries to block the first attack with his shield, but the sheer impact of the dragon's fire immediately knocks him down. Luna quickly uses her magic to heal him, and Oliver asks Philly why she didn't buff Derek. He just then realizes that Philly has completely frozen from the shock and is currently unresponsive. Oliver gets even more confused, wondering why a more powerful enchanter than Orhan would react like that. Annalie doesn't waste any time and uses Fire Javelin against the dragon, but her spell doesn't even do a scratch to it. The black dragon attacks her with its fire breath, and even though she tries to hide behind some rocks, the fire completely destroys it in seconds. Annalie falls defeated in a matter of seconds, and Oliver still doesn't understand what happened to everyone. Luna warns him that they need to pull out and asks him to get a hold of himself because they can't win this fight, and they'll end up getting wiped out at this pace. The black dragon prepares its most powerful breath attack, so Luna asks him to buy them time because they need to leave as soon as possible. Oliver quickly reacts and asks Philly to wake up, making her snap out of her shock. Once she finally responds, he asks her to give him a buff, and with that, he decides to use magical convergence. Oliver prepares to attack, but Luna tries to warn him that he needs to do more magical convergence. He simply tells her that there's no time and attacks the black dragon with his divine flash. Oliver's attack crashes against the dragon's breath, creating a powerful explosion that pushes him back. However, the black dragon remains intact, making him feel defeated and confused. Luna quickly approaches him to check on him, but Oliver simply asks her what they should do. He's clearly distraught, but Luna reminds him that he's the leader, so it's his job to decide what they'll do. She asks him to get a hold of himself, and the dragon starts preparing another attack, so Luna tells him that they have no choice but to use the Fickle Gate. It's a magical item used for emergency escapes, which can only be used inside the dungeons. It can only forcibly open a link between the place where it's used and someplace else. Oliver hesitates, and Philly mentions that it will take them to a random boss area, somewhere between the upper and lower floors. That means they'll be fighting another floor boss the second they step through. Luna clarifies that it's still a lot better than fighting the black dragon, a boss from the deepest levels. Oliver finally makes a decision, so everyone quickly gathers around him before he uses the magic item. As soon as the gate opens, the black dragon chases them, blocking the way with fire. The gate suddenly expands, letting the black dragon through before it closes, leaving them completely alone. Everyone is left speechless after that, but Derek simply laughs, saying that they're saved. Luna quickly scolds him, saying that this is the worst thing that could have happened. Just then, Oliver realizes that this means the black dragon has moved to another boss area. Luna warns them that a bunch of adventurers are about to be attacked by a black dragon with no idea it's there. Philly says that she had no idea a floor boss could use a Fickle Gate, but Luna tells them that they need to get back to the guild and have them force teleport everyone out. Force teleport is a function the guild cards have that let them forcibly teleport someone out, and that's their only option now. Oliver hesitates, because they'll suffer some penalty from the guild if they do that. He knows that this isn't the time to worry about that though, so he decides to go right away. Luna stops him, asking him if he's going to leave Annalie and Derek behind. This puts Oliver in an even more difficult position, so he decides to wait for his comrades while Luna uses her healing magic on them. She tells him that after they request the force teleport, they'll have to immediately battle the black dragon. Oliver agrees, but Luna tells him that they should switch Philly and Orhan when they do so. She really doesn't like the idea of Orhan being forced to clean up their mistake, but they clearly need him right now. Derek immediately refuses to ask him for help, but Luna tells him that before the black dragon appeared, she was about to tell them the reason they were weaker. The truth is, they're the same as ever, and nothing has changed. This information surprises Oliver, and he asks her why they're so weak in that case, because even his strongest attack, Divine Flash, couldn't scratch the black dragon. Luna tells him that the answer is simple, and it's because he doesn't have Orhan. He'd barely done any magical convergence back there, and that's how weak Divine Flash is under those circumstances. Luna asks him if he knows what all support magic has in common, and Oliver says that the amount they raise a stat is decided by the caster, and the amount of time a buff lasts is decided by the target. An enchanter has to recast a buff before it wears off, and the average time a buff lasts is about 3 minutes. Philly tells him that that's usually correct, but all of them have very high magic resistance, so a buff won't last more than 2 minutes. minutes. For Oliver, she can't keep a buff up for more than a minute. Oliver tells her that he's never heard that from anyone before, but Luna explains that his body makes him a bad fit for any enchanter, and Orhun did a fantastic job of handling him either way. Oliver stubbornly says that Philly should be able to do it too, because she's much more talented than Orhun, who's clearly less powerful than any other enchanter. Luna clarifies that Orhun already knew that, and that's why he developed several types of original magic to make up for his flaws. All the members are shocked to hear that because they didn't believe he was capable of that, but Luna assures them that it's true. Once she's done healing them, Luna says that that's all she can do for now because they're low on time and they have to hurry. The group quickly starts running, and Oliver mentions that Orhun did say something about making original magic, but he was still far weaker than other enchanters. Luna tells him that that's not true, and explains that one of the original spells he developed can increase potency by over 50 times. Oliver is clearly shocked by that, and Philly says that something like that is impossible, because even Selma from the Night Sky Silver Rabbit said she could only increase it by 10 times. Luna assures her that it's true, and Oliver realizes that his Divine Flash required Orhun's support magic. She quickly confirms this, saying that his Divine Flash and Annalie's attack magic were helped by this 50-fold increase. However, that made him arrogant, and he stopped spending as much time gathering magical energy. If he had spent more time on his magical convergence, he could have managed to knock the Black Dragon out of the sky, at least. It's the same for Annalie, because she thought that the attacks that required Orhun's support magic to work were effective because of her own power. Lately, she has only been using easy mid-ranked spells because of that, thinking that they were powerful enough. She may not be able to use special rank spells that require time and concentration anymore. Annalie didn't know that was possible, and Derek realizes that Orhun was supporting his defenses as well. Luna confirms it, saying that Orhun's original magic also works on equipment and spells, so when his buffs wore off, they wouldn't suddenly feel like their bodies were heavier. All three of them get surprised by this, but Lune clarifies that she has said the same thing many times before, so they should understand by now. Oliver finally recognizes the truth, but mentions that it's too late now. Once they exit the dungeon, many adventurers recognize them, having no idea of what just happened. They're seen as heroes, but Oliver knows that nothing could be further from the truth, because they put every adventurer in the dungeon in danger. They don't have the right to be called heroes, even though they defeated the Black Dragon once. However, he was the one who defeated it, so he still stubbornly believes that the heroes party should be fine without Orhun. In the meantime, Orhun and his assigned group prepare for the last day of the expedition, having no idea that the Black Dragon is on the loose. Their goal for the final day is clearing the dungeon from floor 36 to floor 50, and once they hit floor 51, they'll use their teleportation crystals to head back and call it a day. The plan remains the same. They'll be dealing with the monsters the new recruits can't handle, and all of them chaperones will be joining in the boss fights. This should be doable, but for some reason, Orhun senses something terrible from the Great Dungeon today. He then notices Logan staring at him and assumes that's the weird feeling he's sensing. Caroline interrupts his thoughts to ask him what kind of monsters they will see today, because she just can't wait to fight them. Orhun sighs and reminds her that she can't just rush at the monsters every time, and she needs to remember that she's a defender. Caroline tells him that that means everybody else has to work extra hard, so she wants to be fighting on the front lines. That's also why she would really like some advice on fighting from him. Orhun warns her that there's a limit to what she can do as an individual, so she should start thinking of herself as part of a team while she's still new. Caroline complains, saying that he's no fun, but Logan tells her that Orhun is being nice enough to give her advice, and even the famous Albert said working together was important. Orhun assumes that he's talking about Albert Sensible, who was the undisputed ace of the Night Sky Silver Rabbits. He heard that he died fighting the Black Dragon on floor 92 last year, though Logan clarifies that he's still a hero to everyone in the Silver Rabbits, but Caroline mentions that he died protecting one of his comrades, and it was actually the defender who was supposed to protect him. He knew that if he died, everyone's smile would disappear and nothing would be left. That's why she believes that she just needs to keep the people she's protecting far away from her, because if she fights alone on the front lines, the others won't be in danger. Orhun instantly notices the gloomy look on Caroline's face as she says that, and as an outsider, it looks like he'd better not get involved. That's why he simply tells her that they'll be counting on her today, and that brings her back to her usual cheerful self. Just then, Sophia tells Orhun that there was something she wanted him to tell her too, because she wants to know what she lacks and what she needs to get stronger. Orhun tries to think about it, but Logan quickly tells him that he also wants to know what he needs to get stronger. The group finally heads into the dungeon, starting at floor 36, and Selma reminds Orhun that they must stay sharp today. She also mentions that it looks like his group has taken a liking to him, and Orhun admits that he was worried after that newspaper article, but it seems they've accepted him. Selma tells him that Logan and Caroline can both be a handful, but they've got bright futures for sure, so he must look after them. That aside, she mentions the fact that they were talking about Albert, and tells him that his loss was a huge blow to them. That's why the heroes party was able to take the lead in conquering the Great Dungeon. Orhun tells her that the Black Dragon was tough for them too, so they might have lost someone easily, just like they lost Albert. Selma mentions that Albert was someone they could always count on, so they're still trying to fill the hole he left, but it's not easy. Orhun tells her that he hopes they can find someone good, and Selma knows that he's just playing dumb right right now. She still asks him what he thinks about it, but Orhun reminds her that one party doesn't need two enchanters, especially if one of them is the best enchanter on the continent. Selma admits that their clan leader said the same thing, but he wanted to come with them as a swordsman, so she'll be watching during the floor boss battle to see what he can do. Once they reach floor 40, Selma informs everyone that they'll be splitting into groups here, and they'll meet up just before the floor boss. After assigning each group to their respective escorts, Caroline mentions that it's kind of lonely that group 10 is all by themselves. Logan tells her that that just shows how much they expect of them, but Sophia mentions that she's a little nervous since it's just them. Orhun explains that there are a lot of different paths through the dungeon, so they're going to need to learn to split up and find the floor boss. Caroline mentions that she doesn't get the idea of getting lost here, and Orhun clarifies that that's why it's important to gather information in advance. All the adventurers make multiple expeditions to map the floor out, find the right path, and share that information with others. That's why the larger clans have an advantage. Caroline then says that they'll have to have him share some information with them in that case, since he's been deeper into the Great Dungeon than anyone. Logan quickly agrees, and asks Orhun to tell them about the lower floors and the deepest floors, because he wants to know what they're like. Orhun thinks about it for a moment, and informs them that the lower floors start at floor 76. They're like a snow-covered mountain, and when they get deeper, a blizzard starts. Caroline excitedly asks him what the monsters there are like, wanting to know how strong they are. Orhun tries to tell her that there are ice lizards, but Sophia quickly interrupts him, saying that the deepest floors start at floor 91, and she wants to know what they're like. He tells her that they're like a swamp, but Caroline also interrupts him to ask him what the monsters there are like, and the floor bosses as well. Orhun quickly starts getting overwhelmed, and asks them to make one question per person. Meanwhile, Luna breaks into the Adventurers Guild and asks a woman named Eleonora to bring the Guildmaster here immediately. Eleonora clarifies that the Guildmaster is in a meeting, so she has to wait a little if she wants to see him. Luna cuts her off and says that there's no time, because they need to teleport everyone in the dungeon back to the surface right now. As the group 10 continues advancing through the dungeon, Sophia mentions that something feels off. Logan agrees with her, saying that they haven't seen any monsters, and with a room this big, there should be at least one. Orhun knows that floor 40 isn't usually like this, and he's now having the same nasty feeling he had since before he entered the dungeon today. It's as if the monsters are afraid of something, which is a little concerning. Caroline starts getting bored and desperate, so she makes a lot of noise and says that she wants to fight. That's when a monster finally shows up, and Caroline immediately runs straight to it to fight it. Orhun tries to stop her, but Caroline doesn't listen, so he quickly casts agility down on the monster to lower its stats. Thanks to this, Caroline easily defeats it, feeling a lot better now. Orhun quickly catches up with the others and reminds her that he told her not to run off on her own. Logan tells her that Azure goblins are incredibly fast and strong, so if Orhun hadn't debuffed it, she wouldn't have been able to defeat it. Caroline nonchalantly dismisses their concerns, saying that it doesn't matter because she defeated it anyway. Orhun reminds her that the defender is the core of the party, so if she's in danger, Logan and Sophia will do everything they can to save her, which means that she'll put her comrades in danger. Caroline admits that he's right, and she soon realizes her mistake, so she apologizes for that, saying that that wasn't her intention. Orhun knows that it can't be helped, so he decides to inform her that dodge-type defenders have a type of defense called active defense, and he's going to teach her that. He's sure she won't listen if he just tells her to focus on defense, after all. Caroline gets really excited and asks him how it works, so Orhun explains that it's a method of drawing the enemy's attacks and then locking them down. Every living thing will physically prepare before launching an attack, like stepping forward before throwing a punch. If she slashes at their legs at just that moment, they won't be able to step forward and attack. So, if she can read their movements just before they attack, then hit the vital point they need for their strike, she can stop them from attacking. Caroline excitedly asks him if she can fight at the front now, but Orhun clarifies that her goal isn't to defeat them. She can't forget that she's a defender whose job it is to draw the enemy's attention and stop them from attacking. Caroline quickly understands that and thanks him for the information, but Logan suddenly moves her aside and asks Orhun to teach him something as well. Meanwhile, the heroes party meets with the guildmaster, who asks Oliver exactly what happened. Oliver remains completely silent, so Luna decides to speak up, saying that they want to ask him for a forced teleport. That takes the guildmaster by surprise, and he asks her if she knows what they're asking for, because the mana cost of that teleport is incredible, and they can't use it unless it's an emergency. Luna then informs him that the Black Dragon, the floor boss of floor 92, has very likely moved to somewhere in the higher, middle, or lower floors. She quickly explains what happened exactly, saying that the Black Dragon flew through a fickle gate, so they don't know where it went. They had no idea a floor boss could even use magic items, so there's no way of telling when and where it could appear, and it's possible that someone has run into it already. That's why they'd like to ask him for a forced teleport immediately, to save all the lives in danger right now. Eleonora quickly steps in to remind them that the rules say they need to have a conference to discuss it first. Luna tells her that there's no time for that because the people in the dungeon have no idea what has happened. While they discuss this, Logan tells Orhun that he would like to learn more about debuffs. Orhun warns him that debuffs are tough, and debuffs that weaken the enemy are an advanced type of support magic. He's sure he's aware that debuffs are influenced by the target's status more than buffs, so he needs needs to understand exactly what their magic resistance is and tune his spell accordingly. Also, floor bosses, as well as the powerful monsters he'll find in the deepest areas starting on floor 61, aren't affected by them much. Even advanced adventurers who can use them usually don't, because they're not effective. He can use them, but he'll need to learn the exact magic resistance of every monster in the lower and deepest floors. Logan quickly understands that he's not ready for that, and Orhun tells him that his first priority needs to be learning to master the buffs he has and gaining more experience. Once that's clear, Orhun decides to teach them a fun way to use magic instead, so he asks them to look behind them. When the three kids look behind them, they see two wolves running straight towards them. However, they're instantly killed by one of the traps Orhun set up earlier. Orhun explains that it's called trap magic for trapping the enemy, and he's been using it this whole time since day one. Logan had no idea at all, and Orhun tells him that if he can reduce the risk of being attacked from behind, the party can focus just on the enemies in front. Using traps like he just did to restrict the enemy's avenues of attack and turn the battlefield to his advantage is another part of an enchanter's job. Logan happily takes his advice, feeling completely sure that Orhun is the kind of enchanter he wants to be. Back to the guild master decides to have a conference, saying that they'll begin preparing the forced teleport. He clarifies that this magic spell is big enough to teleport out every adventurer in the dungeon, so it will take time to construct the spell and prepare the mana. One of the heads of the guild tells Oliver that this is going to be his responsibility for allowing this to happen. Annalie and Derek quickly protest, saying that this isn't their fault and they did nothing wrong. This only angers the heads of the guild even more, and they can't believe that they call themselves heroes. The guild master silences them and asks them to focus on the spell, because many lives are at stake right now. While they construct the massive teleport spell, Orhun decides to teach something to Sophia as well. He tells her that what she needs is parallel construction, the ability to construct 2 or more spells at once. Every advanced caster needs to be able to do it, and it's not very difficult once she's used to it. Anybody can even do 2 at once, and some people can do dozens at once. Orhun explains that once she gets deep into the dungeon, a lot of monsters can't be defeated with a single special rank spell. Even if she fires them off in a chain, it takes time to prepare them, and while she's preparing them, she's powerless. That's where the parallel construction comes in. If she can start on her second spell when the first is halfway ready, she can cast her spells more efficiently. Sophia easily understands his logic, and asks him if the monsters on the lower floors are really that strong. Orhun tells her that she can't beat them by just firing off a chain of powerful spells. She can also choose to use weaker, mid-ranked spells in tandem with the rest of her party's attacks, because any magic can be useful depending on how she uses it. She's already strong enough to fight on the middle floors, so she must ask her elders in the night sky silver rabbits to teach her, since he's sure Selma would be glad to do so. Sophia agrees, but she nervously confesses that she would rather he teaches her than her sister. Orhun is clearly taken by surprise, and he mentions that he can teach her, but only if Selma says it's okay. As they speak, the guildmaster and the other heads of the guild finally finish preparing the spell, so they start empowering it with mana. The guildmaster says that as soon as it's charged, they'll begin the forced teleport, and he wants the heroes' party to defeat the Black Dragon. Annalie and Derek hesitate, saying that they still haven't recovered from fighting it the first time. Luna ignores their complaints and accepts the order from the guildmaster, saying that they'll head out immediately. However, she decides to make one request first. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Selma asks all new recruits to stay in the safe zone, saying that the chaperones will handle the floor boss alone. Orhun tells the kids that this is a good opportunity, so they must watch how they fight and learn everything they can. Once the battle against the floor boss starts, Orhun decides to use the active defense he taught to Caroline. She immediately notices this and says that that's the kind of defender she wants to be. The floor boss decides to step back and falls into one of Orhun's magic traps, which cuts off its escape. Logan quickly realizes that Orhun already knew that the boss would move, which means he managed to read the enemy's intentions very well. Sophia then sees that Selma is using the parallel construction Orhun was talking about, and she apparently can do 5 at once. All the escorts are perfectly coordinated while fighting, so the battle against the floor boss is over in an instant. Caroline mentions that she has never seen anyone lock down an enemy's movements like that. Logan agrees, saying that Orhun turned the battle to his advantage, and now he better understands the way he fights. That's why the rest of the group was able to focus fully on attacking, and they were really working as a team. Not a single movement was wasted, and that's what an advanced party really looks like. While they celebrate their victory, the heroes party runs back to the dungeon, and Oliver asks Luna why she asked the guildmaster to pull out the people on floors 40 through 50 first. Luna explains that it's because Orhun's probably down there, but Annalie gets defensive and asks her what that jack-of-all-trades has to do with this. Luna reminds her that right now, they're the weakest S-rank party, so they can't possibly defeat the Black Dragon. Derek gets offended by that, but Luna makes it very clear for them that they can't possibly fight without Orhun, and it's up to him whether they all survive this. The expedition finally makes it to floor 50, and the floor boss is a giant crab, so Selma says that if they can cut off the claws, all that's left is to break the shell. Orhun decides to take care of that, but Bernard asks him if he can really manage to do that, since a giant crab's shell is incredibly tough. Orhun draws his sword and decides to show him, cutting off the claw in a single strike by using a spell called Impact. It's his original original spell that forcibly enhances his equipment's power and toughness, as well as his magic for a single instant up to 100 times. Since it's kind of a cheat that he came up with by chance, when trying to fix a problem with his magic, he does feel a bit guilty using it, but it's what he needs to survive on the deepest floors. Selma and the others manage to defeat the floor boss thanks to him, so the expedition finally ends, and she tells everyone that they're now heading home. Orhun is glad to know that his job is done and nothing bad happened. However, he immediately senses danger right then, and a fickle gate suddenly breaks open right above them, letting out the black dragon. Sophia screams in horror, and everyone totally freezes before the black dragon, but Orhun immediately asks them to run. Selma stands frozen in place, terrified by the pressure the black dragon exerts on them. It's impossible to believe, but she's sure that that has to be the real thing, right before their eyes. The other escorts are as shocked as her, since there's no way it should be on this floor. The black dragon is a tyrant who slaughters helpless adventurers, and Selma knows that she needs to take command now, but she barely can move or think. Orhun is just the same, wondering how they can survive this situation. The boss on this floor is already dead, so if they can get past it and to the teleportation crystal, then they can escape. However, he just then realizes that he's the only one who is even able to move, and monsters will usually head towards crowds of people. The black dragon will probably do the same, so if he runs, he'll survive and everyone else will die. That's why he knows that he has to fight the black dragon, because his job is to make sure that all the new adventurers make it back alive. He draws out his sword, promising to himself that he won't betray them and he'll protect them, no matter the cost. Orhun knows that he should give up on any ideas of buying time for them to escape, because there is only one way for everyone to survive, and it's to defeat the black dragon. He loudly yells to all the chaperones to make them snap out of it, saying that they must do whatever it takes to keep the rookies safe. Selma finally reacts and immediately orders the other chaperones to keep a defensive posture. Bernard and Anthem quickly head to the front, and Selma orders Kathy to cast a magic ward. Kathy creates a protective barrier around everyone, and that's when the black dragon attacks. The blow is clearly huge and bigger than they expected, so for a moment they think that the magic ward won't stand a chance. However, Orhun instantly uses an impact spell to reinforce the barrier, making it stronger and keeping everyone safe. Everyone is surprised that they survived that, and they're also confused because no one knows what happened. Selma mentions that it felt like the magic ward got stronger for an instant, and it doesn't take long for her to figure out it was Orhun. Sophia gets worried when she sees Orhun facing the black dragon alone, swiftly dodging all its physical attacks. Orhun throws a dagger at the dragon's eye, but it closes it before the sharp end can hit it. Bernard is surprised that the black dragon knew what he was doing, but Selma tells him that that was deliberate. She explains that Orhun is aiming for the one instant when its eyes are closed to get closer and take it off guard. Just like that, Orhun jumps at the black dragon with his sword and uses impact again, creating a huge explosion with only a slash from his sword. Everyone holds their ground after that, and Anthem is sure that that powerful attack surely has to have taken it down. However, the black dragon is still alive and unharmed, and Orhun says that he should have known that that wouldn't be enough. Selma quickly asks him if he's okay, and Orhun reassures her, asking her to just keep protecting the rookies because he'll deal with the black dragon and he has a plan, so there's no need to worry. Selma still hesitates, but Orhun now speaks to the rookies, telling them that he's sure all of them may be scared, but they must stay put because he'll protect them. Orhun puts on a necklace and wields his sword again, running straight toward the black dragon. The black dragon attacks him with its fire breath, but Orhun then appears somewhere else and draws its attention away from everyone else. Selma is still wondering if it's really okay to let him handle this alone, because the black dragon killed Albert, and if that happened again, she doesn't know if she could stand it. Orhun keeps swiftly running and dodging the black dragon, and as soon as he gains some distance, he uses reflective wall to drive one of the dragon's fire attacks right back at its head. The black dragon screeches, and Orhun asks it if it likes the taste of its own fireballs. Both Caroline and Logan are shocked that he just reflected the black dragon's attack, and they don't even know what kind of spell that was, since they have never seen or heard of anything like it. Orhun explains that reflective wall is one of the original spells he came up with, which reflects anything that touches it back on the wielder. However, once the fire is gone, he notices that the black dragon is still unharmed, so it looks like he's going to take some risks. Without wasting any time, Orhun uses status up on himself, a boost to all his stats. Selma knows what he's doing, because status up is a high-level spell that does parallel, simultaneous construction of all 6 types of support magic to increase all stats. Nonetheless, Orhun's support magic can only double stats, so that's not nearly enough. Selma wonders if she should help, but that's when Orhun doubles his status up and then triples it. Orhun keeps going until he manages to do a quintuple status up on himself, which should be impossible. Selma is completely speechless, because no one should be able to use the same buff multiple times. If someone does recast it, it'll just reset the time until it wears off, but he just cast it 5 times consecutively. The black dragon suddenly jumps and whips its tail towards him, but Orhun dodges it in a second, jumping at high speed. Everyone's shocked that he could move that far in such a short time, and he was so fast that they couldn't even see him. Selma knows that that's not just simple support magic, because nobody has ever seen a spell like that, which means it must be another of his original spells. She starts wondering just how many secret powers he's hiding, but she can't even tell anymore. Orhun lands on the ground after that jump, knowing that the 5 consecutive casts have increased his status 32 times, but he can't keep it for long because he's basically casting 30 different spells at once. The burden on the caster is far too great with this spell, so he tries to make it quick and runs toward the black dragon again, wanting to end this now. The black dragon sees him running and whips its tail again, but Orhun jumps just in time. However, the black dragon whips its tail in the air this time, which seems bad for everyone else. Orhun admits that that was a good move, but he uses an ability to make a stepping stone in midair, which allows him to dodge the attack. Logan wonders if that was magic too, but what Orhun did was not magic, but a special ability. Rarely, humans will have powers called special abilities, and they're another type of power, different from magic or sorcery, that gives them abilities they don't normally have. His ability is magical convergence, which allows him to gather magic into a single point and materialize it. He can also cause magic to propel him through the air, so it's an ability with a great many uses. Oliver has the same ability, but all he uses it for is attacks though. Orhun uses his magical convergence to propel himself through the air again, and he casts sharpness up and durable up on his sword to attack the black dragon. He uses impact right before the attack, and with that, he finally manages to harm the neck of the black dragon. The black dragon falls, and Caroline is surprised that Orhun managed to get through those thick scales. However, Orhun's body can barely keep up right now, and Selma is even more worried than before. It's clear that he's not okay, because normally, it's impossible to chain support magic like that, and he's also adding effects to his weapon. Also, he keeps using that original magic of his called impact, which makes her think that Orhun is really intending to defeat the black dragon on his own. Selma doesn't know what she can do in this situation, because even the strongest members of the Night Sky Silver Rabbits couldn't beat that thing together, so she wouldn't know what to do, even if she joined in alone. The black dragon uses its fire breath again, so Orhun quickly dodges it and jumps directly at its head to attack. As she sees him fighting, Selma wonders what this shaking feeling welling up inside her is, and she assumes that she's worried about Orhun. She soon discards the idea, knowing that it's something else, something that she doesn't understand, and that makes her brace herself in fear. Selma doesn't know what is happening to her, but she knows that she has to get a hold of herself. All she can do now is make sure Orhun can concentrate on the fight by protecting the new recruits here. The black dragon suddenly uses a different attack, and Orhun knows that it's bad, so he quickly runs away and tries to dodge all the consecutive blasts directed at him. He disappears from everyone's sight for an instant, and Sophia immediately panics, thinking that he got hit. In a sudden change of scene, we see Orhun's past, when he was only a little kid, having fun with his friends in a lively town. Everything seemed to be peaceful and happy back then, but one day, when Orhun and Oliver were still young, they found their hometown completely destroyed. While they were training, bandits attacked the village and ended the lives of many, getting rid of everything they once knew. There was nothing they could do but cry unconsolably, knowing that they wouldn't get their lives back. They only had each other, and they made sure to dig graves for everyone in town. That's when Oliver decided that he would get stronger, so nobody can steal from him ever again. Orhun decided to do the same, saying that he would get stronger, so no matter what horrible things happen, he wouldn't lose anything. He promised that he would be strong enough to protect what he cares about, and now, back to the present time, he remembers that promise. He swore that he'd become an adventurer and seek knowledge and power, so the horrors of this world couldn't grind him down. What he needs to do to protect everyone now is to drive away the horror in front of him, and there's nothing hard about it at all, because he just needs to defeat the enemy in front of him. Sophia is glad to see that he's okay, and Logan tells her that he knew that he wouldn't go down that easy. Selma analyzes the last attack the black dragon used, saying that when it turns that purple mist into a weapon and fires it, that's the black dragon's strongest spell. It has slain so many adventurers that it's practically fear itself, so she wonders how Orhun will fight it. Orhun stands his ground and thinks, knowing that that attack is probably like his magical convergence, and it uses the magical power in the vicinity. The black dragon transforms it in many different ways, making it impossible to attack from all directions. However, when he beat it last time, it had a lot more different types, which means the black dragon isn't serious yet, and it's underestimating him. Orhun decides to run straight towards the dragon again, rapidly dodging all the multiple attacks. He then casts a fire bullet and aims it at the black dragon's head, taking the opportunity to get closer and attack with his sword. However, this time, the scales of the black dragon are even tougher, and he's surrounded by that dangerous purple mist. Orhun thinks fast and uses his sword to block all the blows at once, creating an explosion that pushes him back. The black dragon is really persistent, so it sends another wave of that purple mist at him. Orhun quickly casts a rock wall, noticing that the black dragon has changed its attack pattern, and it's much faster too. The black dragon suddenly launches an attack from Orhun's blind spot, making it impossible for him to dodge. Luckily, Orhun set a reflective wall there just in case, and it reflected the attack away from him, keeping him safe. The black dragon continues with its multiple attacks, and the kids can only observe everything from the distance, speechless at the incredible fight. Bernard is just as shocked as them, because Orhun is truly keeping up with the black dragon, but he wonders if he can really win. Selma tells him that Orhun can't land the killing blow, so at this rate, he won't be able to defeat it. Orhun continues running non-stop, dodging several attacks at once without a rest. This is really hard for himself alone because last time Derek and Luna blocked the purple mist, Annalie kept it pinned down with her magic, and Oliver's divine flash was their secret weapon. None of them are here now, so he's supposed to do all their jobs himself. Even though it seems like an impossible task, Orhun is completely determined to do it because he swore that no matter what happened, he wouldn't let it beat him. To beat the Black Dragon without relying on any of them, he'll do everything he can. Orhun jumps at the dragon again, and Caroline instantly notices that he's using active defense, so she finally sees how a dodge-type defender moves. The Black Dragon's pinned down and can't attack like it wants to now, and Orhun is drawing it away so it doesn't attack them. Sophia knows that he's protecting them, and even in this situation, he's looking after them. Orhun then uses parallel construction, casting several magic circles around the Black Dragon so it can't dodge any attack. This creates another huge explosion all around the Black Dragon, and Selma can't believe that Orhun is doing all those spells at once. Caroline mentions that Orhun said there were people who could do dozens, and that apparently included him. Logan tells her that this is how an adventurer who aims for the bottom of the great dungeon fights. Orhun knows that the Black Dragon surely has never taken that many spells at once, but he doesn't expect to defeat it like this, so he prepared one more spell. All the consecutive attacks hit the Black Dragon at once, and Orhun explains that he used Raise and Repeat. It is a trap spell that absorbs magical power from the surrounding area and repeats the same attack from before at a higher intensity. It is one of his original spells that takes advantage of his magical convergence. Selma sees everything and says that she had no idea he could use trap magic to attack like that. Logan mentions that he's turning the battlefield to his advantage, and this is how an enchanter fights. Orhun stands back and sees the result of his trap, saying that it is every bit as strong as Annalie's attack magic. The Black Dragon uses its wings to dissipate the flames, but that's nothing Orhun wasn't expecting, because he knows that the Black Dragon is strong. However, he clarifies that when he was in the heroes' party, they had one more attacker to land the killing blow. Orhun then uses magical convergence again, but this time, he uses it on his sword, turning it completely black. It's not gold, like Oliver's, but a pitch-black blade that he uses to slash a divine flash against the powerful Black Dragon's fire breath. His divine flash is also pitch black, and it completely goes through the dragon's attack. Orhun puts all his might in that attack, knowing that someone who can fulfill every role in the hero's party is the kind of swordsman he wants to be. His attack is so powerful that even the Black Dragon tries to back down in fear, but Orhun doesn't give it time to escape, and uses impact to boost his divine flash, which directly hits the Black Dragon. However, Orhun soon realizes that the Black Dragon sacrificed its own tail to protect its head. Even that couldn't finish it, and he should have expected that of a deep floor boss. Despite that, Orhun has a reason he can't lose too, so he continues fighting, saying that it's one-on-one, and neither of them can retreat, so the real fight's just beginning. The Black Dragon rages and desperately chases after him, trying to bite him. Orhun quickly dodges, but that's when his buffs wear off, which means he ran out of time. Selma notices this and instantly casts status up, but for some reason, her magic doesn't work. Orhun tells her that he doesn't need her buffs because they'll throw him off from what he's used to, so they must focus on protecting themselves. Selma just then realizes that Orhun is the one who rejected her buffs, so he's basically saying that he doesn't need her support. That makes her feel kind of bad, and she knows that there's no place for her in the fight between him and the Black Dragon. Orhun uses a quintuple status up again, and he immediately casts a powerful thunder shock against the dragon, reinforcing it with his impact spell. This powerful shock impacts the Black Dragon and immediately makes it fall, leaving the place in silence. Soon enough, they hear the Black Dragon growling, which means it's still alive even after that. Orhun is completely exhausted already, and his sword suddenly breaks into pieces. Despite this, Orhun knows that the Black Dragon is also in really bad shape, so it's time to end this now. He casts destruction, and a black mist surrounds him, letting everyone feel an insane amount of magic power. Just then, a pitch-black greatsword appears before him, and Orhun explains that destruction is a spell that converges highly amplified magic into a sword. Even without impact, its power far exceeds a special rank spell. Orhun casts reflective walls all over the place to jump between them, and he does so until he reaches the Black Dragon from above. He then uses Weight Up and throws himself like a missile, using impact to create a devastating blast against the Black Dragon that shakes the whole place. Once again, everything goes silent, and this time, when the dust dissipates, Orhun is the one standing, letting everyone know that the Black Dragon has been defeated. Everyone immediately runs toward him, wanting to celebrate that they're alive thanks to Orhun.